The starting place for today's walk is Gray's Bridge in Dorchester, and we're going to walk out to the small church of Stinsford. So this is our starting point, which is Gray's Bridge. I mentioned before how we've got this wonderful sign on this bridge. Now we are actually going to start by taking the footpath, pavement on the side of the road out towards Stinsford, but we're going to turn off in a moment into the fields. I reckon this route takes about 40 minutes, perhaps a little bit less. So it's only about half a mile, and we're walking from here to the church at Stinsford, where it's got a famous grave. Well, it's got two interesting graves. These fields here are known as water meadows because in Victorian times the network of channels and rivers, the River Frome and a whole lot of channels were integrated in a system which would flood the fields so they would get extra grass from the fields to feed the cattle. This is where we go under the bypass. This is the point where we're going to continue through this gate here, but when we come back from the church we're going to come down this lane here. Through the trees there is a cottage which has always been known as the Three Bear Cottage. Right, if we were to continue along this path, we would come to the lovely village of Lower Brockhampton, and it's a path that Thomas Hardy was known to walk many times. But if we turn to our left here, we will follow this up to the church. One of the reasons people know of Stinsford Church is because the heart of our local novelist and poet Thomas Hardy is laid here. Thomas Hardy was born in a near village, High Stinsford, and his father worked on the estate. He came to church here and he wished to be buried here. There is the famous story that is it his heart or is it the cat? Because the story was, or the legend is, that they had placed, the heart was to be buried in Stinsford and the body is in Westminster. I think it was cremated, and the body or ashes are in Westminster Abbey. But his will was that his heart was in Dorset, and legend has it, it was on a plate in a window, probably over there, and a cat got hold of the heart. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. Another poet, the poet laureate Cecil Day-Lewis, 1904 to 1972, who was the father of Daniel Day-Lewis, the actor. He's buried here, and behind him is his wife. And I've lived in Dorset since 1976, and this is a church I know very well. I occasionally play the organ here, which is a privilege and delight. And I have to say that some of the graves I knew the people. A slight mystery to me, and if some of you are related or know the answer to this, I'd be very grateful to know. This is the grave of Kathleen Crawford. I remember a Kathleen Crawford who was wife to a Captain Crawford. Whether it's the same Kathleen, I suspect it is, but I don't know. And I never can work out where Brockhampton House was or is. So, to the right-hand side of the church was a school, or I remember this being a school, Stinsford House. It's now been developed into flats and apartments, and we have some more modern houses up here, but in a traditional style. And the old rectory is here. It's a lovely old building. I remember Sir Anthony Rumbold and his wife used to live there many years ago. Now we're going to walk up the hill here and do a little bit of a loop. We have a farming college here, and you can hear the lambs. Don't want to start a room. I think I referred to this college as Kingston Ward. It's actually now called Coastland, and it's merged with Weymouth College. But I'm going to take this path over here, and that's going to drop down to where we sort of started. It really just feels like spring is in the air, but I've noticed how things really do seem to be being earlier. Behind me is a field of rape yellow, that incredible yellow flower. And I was commenting to someone that we seem to see less of it than we used to. It didn't used to be in full flower until, I would say, the end of April, and now this is early April and it is in full flower. Apparently there's an issue with the pesticide, I don't know, and apparently less farmers are growing it this year. Now the landscape is definitely changing. I mean, it's a long way off, but from here we can see Poundbury, the new development. I remember when that was just fields. And this was the point, or almost the point, I mentioned at the midpoint of the beginning of this walk, where we've looped back